look at the examples of leadership and how unimpressed we are and how unqualified they are. Pressure, cloud, what's important. The strength is in your capacity to enable everyone around you. People always want a team with a growth mindset, but if they didn't provide the thing that we needed, if not now, then when? And if not you, then who?
What if I told you that an introvert from the Bronx quietly generated over $600 billion in sales by doing the exact opposite of what every sales guru teaches? Today, I'm sitting around with Baez, who went from being that quiet strategist whispering behind the scenes at LinkedIn, Google, Uber, and Tesla to founding the Revenue Enablement Lab, where he helps leaders step into what he calls their CEO energy. Guys, this conversation is going to challenge everything you know about leadership, sales, and what it really takes to scale, but not just scale, but scale with integrity. Let's dive in. Luis, thanks for being on the episode today.
Thank you so much for having me, my friend. I'm excited.
Yes, it's super cool. I know you just came out with a new website and a new program that you have with coaching small and medium-sized firms. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. If you check me out over at bookedbusypaid.com, I am stepping into a new space with my team. We're serving firms and implementing all the back-end systems and all the things that give you oxygen as a business owner and as a team. And then we coach you guys up in getting you what you need in terms of revenue performance.
That's cool. I want to step into, if you don't mind, I know you lived in the Bronx and being an introvert. I'm introverted, so this will be interesting. How did you as an introvert generate $600 million in sales? And I know you call it the whispering strategy behind the scenes.
Yeah.
How did you go about embracing, especially in Silicon Valley, embracing that you're an introvert?
It was a matter of interrupting the pattern. When you think about the image or energy or whatever sort of icon in your mind around a salesperson, they're usually sharky, slimy, high pressure. They corner you into doing things or buying things that you don't necessarily need. Imagine me showing up and just very calmly leaning into a conversation and asking, how badly does that hurt? How much time have you spent trying to figure that out? Or how much is it costing you not to fix this? That unassuming energy is a total pattern interrupt. And that's really what's helped me accelerate conversations and excel in my career.
No, I love that because you're putting the customer first when you're asking those questions and finding out what their pains are. Do you believe that was a competitive advantage? Do you think it gave you an advantage over the extroverted sales persona, the typical extroverted sales guy that would be sitting with a Patagonia vest on?
Let's get into yes.
A white guy with a Patagonia labeled vest. You always see that. Yeah, I don't know why it always happens in New York and Silicon Valley, but it's funny.
Yeah, so I did not dress that way, did not show up that way. And I think what really helped me was I think of one CMO in particular who would not open up to me at all. I joined the team at Google, stepped onto the scene, looking to stack value heavily, laying on the stats and the insights. I just could not get through to the CMO. I put on my best tap dance in that boardroom and it still wouldn't impress. Later on that evening, we took the team out for dinner and I sat down next to the CMO strategically. I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. And at one point I leaned into her and just asked, did today meet your expectations? Did you get what you needed from my team today? Or where did we miss out? Where did we miss the mark? I think just gut checking and humanizing the situation and just even asking what's keeping you up at night. That was something that she mentioned had no one ever done because she's a CMO. They're overly preoccupied with trying to impress her, laying on the business jargon and not just being a human being.
No, that's awesome. And a lot of introverts, this is the superpower of an introvert, what you just did. And I love what you're throwing down here. Because a lot of introverts trying to play the pacifist type or passive aggressive, I don't have balls, that type of thing. But you went straight on and hit it and made sure that you sat by her and then had that question. Have you always been that way or is it something that you had to learn?
I just realized that was my superpower. Some people thrive in being center stage, spotlight, on the microphone. That's their thing. That's how I command by just sitting in the background and leaning in quietly and asking the questions. I'm the hype man. I don't need the spotlight. I don't need to be the smartest person in the room or the most handsome or the best. I just need to make sure that my relationship with Charles Schwab and JP Morgan are tight. And so
Mhm.
I just focus on the task at hand, which is even though we're doing business, everyone's talking B2B, I'm talking to human beings. Be a CMO or a VP or a director, but you're also a child, a parent, a brother, sister, bestie. You might be stuck in that boardroom with me, but you might be thinking about that cutie you had dinner with last night, right? I really want to humanize the entire experience that we're having.
I love that because a lot of times, especially with introverts, we feel like we second guess ourselves or we feel like we can't have that conversation where, like you said, it became your superpower. You alchemized it.
Yeah. And I think for me, let's talk real talk. I am Puerto Rican from the South Bronx. I'm an out gay man. I stand out in any room that I step into. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. There's no right way for me to show up. There's no appropriate way for me to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just developed this thick skin that's less preoccupied with impressing people. I don't need those things. And I just realized that my superpower truly is because I don't give those fucks, because I know better about what's going on. I focus on the task at hand.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I want to get into, because I know you help leaders step into their CEO energy.
Yeah.
And I talk to a lot of CEOs. There's so much, and you see this in Silicon Valley, there's so much swinging back and forth. There's the political stuff, and I don't want to get
Yeah.
political here, but how does a CEO step into their energy when there's so much fear out there on either side?
Yeah, gosh. Now, let's look at the examples of leadership and let's look at the folks who are commanding and influencing right now and how unimpressed we are with them and how unqualified they are to be in the positions that they're in, or how they end up on the media with their affairs and all their proclivities. And when I connect with CEOs, founders, visionaries, I'm like, you got to own it and command it and understand that there's no right way to do it. It's just a matter of, are you willing to assume the responsibility of being the face, voice, visionary of this company? And are you willing to do what needs to be done to enable and empower the team in that company and the customers that believe in that company? That's what you're focused on. And there are 1,000 ways to crack an egg. You could be a tyrant leader and attract people who admire that. Or you could be loosey-goosey, hippy-dippy and find clients and customers who value that as well. There are many ways to make multiple seven figures in business.
Yeah, and I think it's like always this cookie cutter blueprint. You can nearly close your eyes and throw a dart in a CEO Silicon Valley room, and it's almost the same thing, whether it's soft spoken, Sam Altman, or it's more like Palantir guy,
Yeah.
but they're still kind of act the same. And I know you've dealt with that. It's all the $800 t-shirts and the $5,000 tennis shoes. How do you, as a CEO, find, because this is Self-Aware Leader podcast, how do you find the inside, who you are, how you can embody yourself? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of information that needs to be taken in that comes from being silent. I learn the most from the feedback I get from people, especially in those moments where I'm having like a feverish, exotical, I'm on a soapbox. Y'all, we need to go chase this windmill. I promise you, like it's worth it, right? I have to stop myself and look at people's faces and reactions, whether they're with me or not, whether I've overshot, underexplained, or whatever might be going on. That's the first signal to my self-awareness. It's, ooh, there's a misalignment in this space, and therefore I can't carry this vision through. However excited I am about it, there's just something about it I'm not translating, right? And then there's that moment of silence of like, all right, I got to take in the feedback in the room. But I think also there's just silence with myself. I am someone who journals every day. I am spiritual. I meditate, pray. I also love plant medicine. So shout out to the shrooms and all the things that help expand my consciousness, right? Those are the things that really elevate my self-awareness, is taking in the feedback from the people that I trust, even those silent signals, but then also just really truly being with myself and processing things, not always being in a reactive or building or doing state.
That's so good. You use a word that I think, and I know you help consult with small and medium sized The word vision, I noticed it, and this is crazy, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter, who cares? But I do know large megachurch pastors are really good at vision casting. They even write books on it. But it's kind of like, why don't we as CEOs, as leaders, why is the vision left out of the picture a lot of times and it's just constantly scaling and doing?
I think that there's that pressure, whether it's investors, family, or anyone that you answer to or provide for, that starts to cloud what's important. A lot of folks are focused on productivity, numbers, metrics. I got to demonstrate to somebody outside of this room that this is a real business, that I'm a real leader, that we're making real progress. And that clouds the importance of the fact that people nowadays are a lot more mission driven and focused than you think. I read all these stats on Gen Z versus millennials. The common denominator right now with all human beings across all generations, with all the bullshit happening in this world, is I need oxygen. Yes, I need money because I got bills to pay. That landlord won't shut up, right? But I want to enjoy what I'm doing. And enjoy what I'm doing if you're always focused on my performance. Help me understand the why. Understand how this bone connects to that bone. And ultimately, what are we building here? And what does that mean for me? Am I stuck in my role? Is there opportunity for growth if I lean into this vision with you? That's what's in it for your team and for your people. They have to see the bigger dream. They have to understand the why and the purpose and the way that all the dots connect, because otherwise their vision is also going to be short-sighted. And I don't want short-sighted people on my team. I don't need anybody sinking my battleship.
Yeah, and it's so interesting, especially with startup CEOs. I'll have a conversation with the C-suite and I'll ask each of them, what's the vision? The majority of them, Luis, I would say, I'm being conservative here, 80 to 85% don't know. And I'm like, well, why did you get hired? And it's like, well, I worked here before and I've done this and I helped scale this. And I know you have the Holy Trinity and you call it collaboration, capital, and clarity. How does a leader really focus? Because a lot of times there's this unconscious neglect due to a lack of these. How does the Holy Trinity, how would a CEO really embrace this?
You don't know it all. You can't do it all. You are not the end all. You can be the bottleneck that ruins everything. If you don't bring in the right people and then allow them to do the things that they need to do. I can read a contract up and down. I'm not a lawyer. I can catch a red flag and then pass it off to the lawyer. Fix this. But I can't do the lawyering. Don't want to do the accounting. So I haven't deepened my expertise in that area. I do the money making, not the money counting. And so the important thing as a leader is understanding that the strength is in your capacity to enable everyone around you. And so thinking about communication, clear swim lanes, clear targets that tie to an overall mission and vision. This is the focus for Q3. This is how it ties into our 50-year view of the bigger thing we're building. I found that I've had experiences at companies that have really established their culture and the ways that people are expected to show up, drive decisions, and engage with one another, empowered and enabled to act like owners and stakeholders in a business. That's also really important as a leader. I don't need everyone asking me all the things, the logins. I don't need you asking me permission. I don't need you waiting on me to execute, right? And so that is important for a CEO to understand. The more giving they are with knowledge, information, attention, training, translation of vision, right? The more mind melding you do with those strategic hires, especially at the onset, your first salesperson, your first operations lead, right? Those are going to be people that literally translate what you share with them and carry on with other teams. Be vulnerable, be generous, be clear, and be inclusive and collaborative. Own the fact that you don't know it all. However many accolades, I work with the founders all the time. You were talking about different personalities. I work with people who stumble into this and love it. I work with people who've always wanted this. I've always wanted to run my own thing, stack credentials up and down Silicon Valley so I could jump into this. Great. And then there are people who are pushed into it. So smart. You should be doing something bigger. And I think that depending on the path that you took and how you arrived, certainly influences your capacity for that level of vulnerability and collaboration and things like that with the team. You've got to check the ego. Why are you doing this? I work with people all the time where I literally sit with them and I'm like, I understand that you're CEO co-founder, but maybe you shouldn't be CEO, right? Maybe you're not to do that.
Right.
And that's a tough conversation as well. But most times it's like, I was pushed into this. I was told this was the path of success. This was the playbook. This is how it's done. Nah, you're misaligned.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you'll see really good leaders and they kind of understand their brain where they're at. Maybe they have the engineer brain and then they hire to that. I know this holy trinity, collaboration, capital, and clarity. What do you see like hidden cost or things that they typically neglect that they're maybe have a blind spot to?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is there's always this appetite for innovation. And it's have you enabled that? Have you created the right communication channels for innovative ideas to bubble up? Have you defined what it means to embody innovative behavior and characteristics and leadership styles within the organization? Have you thought about the ways that your systems and reports and everything capture that level of innovation and brilliance that you're looking for? How do you incentivize innovation? How do you celebrate innovation? People always want a team with a growth mindset. Do we have the systems, the capital, the culture, the everything in place for that kind of growth mindset hustler sales team that you want to hire? Or are you a tyrant? Is there a rate card and some prescriptive flexibilities for folks to negotiate on their own? Or are you the bottleneck that has to approve every dollar that's proposed going out the door? Right? How could you be innovative if you're still holding on to the reins? And if you haven't removed yourself from the equation and you don't trust the systems or the people that build the systems for you?
Yeah, that's a good one. Going into detail over each system and then trying to, it's so funny. I'll talk to somebody, I'll be like, why are you stressed out? And they'll be like, you don't realize all afternoon I've been going over this contract. I'm like, yeah, just throw it into ChatGPT real quick. How much does it cost to hire another lawyer? That type of thing. I want to get into a little bit personal. I know as a gay Puerto Rican man from the Bronx, and here you are in Silicon Valley's, and you're in the elite circles. How did understanding your own otherness become a catalyst for building what you built? Because you build something that's kind of unique. It's super impactful, obviously, especially with the revenue systems, because that's the number one thing. If you go to, and you know this as well as I do, if you go to an investor, they're going to be, what's your revenue? You know, I mean, that's the thing. Everybody talks about revenue. How did being other, not inside, help you build?
I had to build out of necessity, right? So I jumped onto the scene in Silicon Valley in 2012, and this is when all the big companies were starting to report their initiatives around inclusivity and belonging. You had companies like Google leading the pack, putting their money where their mouth was, looking at the ways they were recruiting actively and sourcing their talent and all the things. I jumped onto the scene when there was an appetite for my presence, for the feedback that I could bring to the table about customer experiences, making sure everyone was served with integrity, etc. And there was an appetite for what I could bring to the table at that time. So I jumped on the scene. I moved from the East to the West Coast. After being in the Valley for a few years, quickly realized two things. Number one, I wasn't being paid nearly as much as my colleagues. I literally would sit side to side with people who had less experience than me, who were making $100,000 or more than me. Because a couple of happy hours and drunken slip-ups, people start talking and you start getting all the tea. I started realizing, hey, I need to start taxing y'all a little bit more in these negotiations.
Do you think it was because of who you are?
Oh, of
and what you
course.
identify as?
Absolutely. I was done a favor. Oh, you should be.
That's the other flip side to the DEI stuff.
Yeah. I was done to be so grateful. How dare me be so outspoken? How dare I ask other people and be a top performer on the sales leaderboard? How dare I speak up when things were inefficient or not profitable? I was just...
Oh, because you owe us, right? That was the
right.
thing.
The thing.
You're just a DEI hire.
You were a number on an initiative that we executed on successfully because you're here and you're one of us now. But there's the reality of the ways that I wasn't enabled and the ways I wasn't protected. I engaged with customers who were homophobic and racist, however buttoned up I was and however tight my numbers and business analysis might be, or however many people I bring with me in the room in terms of subject matter expertise, I was always diminished for just who I was. And there were so many times where I've had people request other account executives or sales reps or requesting to speak to my manager. There are many times where accounts were taken from me. I've had hundreds of thousands of dollars in commissions taken from me. When I was close to closing a deal and one person decided they want to talk to the manager, right? And so the deal was passed to somebody else to finish the close and walk away with the commissions. And that is the reality of stepping onto the scene. I've built a resume that eclipses most people I know. I have met few people who've generated the kind of revenue that I have, or stepped into the rooms that I've stepped into, or have the capacity that I do for connecting operations and sales and marketing bones all together in a way that generates 100 million in annual recurring revenue and helps companies get to $1 billion valuation. But that's not the story that gets told about me. That's the story I have to tell about myself, which led me down this path, realizing, number one, I was making less than other folks. Number two, my commissions were being taken away. And number three, it's expensive to live in the Bay Area.
Yes.
I started side hustling. And what I realized from consulting on the side is, first, money is everywhere, not just within the confines of a company selling their product. Secondly, there are skills that no company, however amazing their name, logo, reputation, and leadership and development programs might be, there is just nothing that they can offer that entrepreneurship would in terms of learning, self-awareness, and confidence, communication, translating vision, and even faith in yourself, right? And learning discernment and trusting people in the journey. Those are things that no job could ever offer me. So side hustling became the thing that actually fired me up more than my job. And so I stopped treating my career as the end goal, job as the center of my world. And suddenly my employers were just my corporate sponsors while I was building the real dream.
Do you think it was, because I kind of want to, before we get into, you in the new business that you're in, I want to get into this. Do you think they were more threatened by you being gay, or was it because you're Puerto Rican, or just the combo? Because here's what a lot of people don't realize. A lot of Silicon Valley companies are bringing in other people from other cultures that are anti-gay. And so they always think it may be, like myself, a white guy that could be going after you, but you don't know who.
And you would be surprised. I've had so many people smile in my face, pretending to be an ally, mentor, colleague, or whatever, someone who supposedly was in my corner. And they were the ones that either pulled the rug from under my feet or used me as a pawn in whatever scheme they had as far as making themselves look good for their promotion or their next try. That's just the nature of it. And even just thinking about cultural intelligence. We talk about EQ, IQ. There's also a matter of cultural intelligence. In New York City, I grew up side by side, shoulder to shoulder with every creature from every walk of life. I can pick up on different languages and dialects and subdialects just from listening to people. Oh, that person's from the northern region. Oh, that. And even just understanding how to interact with people respectfully or playfully in appropriate ways that are culturally intelligent. Imagine me stepping onto the scene and reporting to some white dude from the Midwest who it's their first time ever leaving wherever they came from. Oh my God, I'm in San Francisco, the big city. And then all of a sudden, they're not used to my communication style because of what passive aggressive. I'm from the East, so we wear our hearts on our sleeve and we say what it is. People are intimidated by that. Oh, I don't know what to do with him. I don't know how to control him. I don't know how to tame him. I'm not an animal. I'm not to be tamed. I'm an educated professional. I'm to be empowered. That resulted in so many conversations around people putting me on performance review plans. And it was just a matter of, okay, you've got 30 days to exceed all expectations in your job description if you really want to keep your job, because, it's your friction. It's hard to talk to you. It's hard to communicate with you.
How would you address that with someone, like a leader? The world is flat in the sense that we have people from Pakistan, China, Puerto Rico, everywhere. How do you have that conversation when you're in a room as a leader? How can you Because I think a lot of it, obviously, there's intentional people that are racist, but some of it can be subconscious. They came from the Midwest. They don't know how to act. They're acting weird, that type of thing. But down deep, they're not like the typical racist that we would think. Did you see it outright or was it subconscious type thing?
It might have started subconscious, but here's the thing. Maybe you're from the Midwest and you don't know how to handle the situation. Why is your inclination to remove me from the company? Why is your inclination to try to tarnish my reputation or discredit my expertise? There is something really off about that intention, right? An intention of, I don't know how to deal with this. Great. Lean on the people team or HR to train you up how to be better at what you do, right? Go find yourself an executive coach. Go find the skills and the capacity to better maneuver, not just working with me, but with everyone else.
So the intention would come out.
Yeah, it might not have been the reaction. It was just like, okay, why are you putting me on a performance improvement plan? Why am I the problem when I'm exceeding quota?
Yeah, because it puts the person in a pickle in the sense of, do I just be quiet? Do I not say anything? I don't want to be the troublemaker. I'm so happy that I got the job I'm just making up a name, Google, like Facebook, whatever we want to say. So I'm just happy to be here. So I should probably just keep my mouth shut. How did you approach it? Did you use it as fuel? Did you alchemize it to become better or qualified?
Yeah, I am someone who will chop you in the throat with my numbers. Hey, Luis, there have been some reports. Some people have said some things about you. Oh, okay. I'm at 112% of goal for the quarter. I just closed $750,000 deals this week. And also I closed those 3 accounts that everyone passed off to other people because no one else could close them. I closed those too. And in addition to my job, look at the ways that I trained the next 3 sales reps. Look at the way I spoke at new hire onboarding, right? And look at the way I've been invited to speak over here for this keynote.
Yes.
I understand that this one person with no cultural intelligence has an issue with my direct communication style. However, look at how their campaign is running since I started working on it. And this is why they'll be renewing. Whether they work with me or not, this is a customer for you for the long term. So where's the problem, really?
How do you think because obviously they're going to keep their mouth shut, especially if they're making the numbers and making them money. How did you learn to empower yourself that way instead of, it's so easy for all of us in our programming to play victim?
Yeah, I have been the victim. I've been fired. I've been wrongfully terminated. I've had to drag people through legal. I've had to sign documents saying I'll never talk about my employment there again. Right? I have definitely been put through it to the point where damned if I do, damned if I don't. Doesn't matter how I show up, however polite I am, however meager my energy and my voice, however submissive I am to the leadership and to the machine and the regime. Y'all are going to screw me anyway. And no matter how excellent my service is to the client, there's always going to be an issue. So I focus on what I know to be true and to be sane. Because I have to do my own sanity check. I know I do an exceptional job. My customers tell me time and time again, I only want to invest with you. If they pass me off to another team, I don't think we're renewing. That's what matters to me. So you can, on your quest to be VP of whatever, try to tear me down, right? But the customer is with me where I go.
Yeah, that's so good. And that's so empowering too. And that's such a help to people that may be going through that same experience of discrimination. I know after closing 600 million for others, you admit to feeling shook when starting your own business. There's a lot of people that, are tired of working for the man. And so they kind of want to do their own thing. What profound lesson did that vulnerability teach you? Mainly about the difference between selling for others versus selling for yourself.
Yeah. You have to really love up on yourself. Right. I products lovingly, willingly. You mentioned Google. I've worked at Google. I love selling the Google product stack. Right. It was colorful. It was fun. It was innovative. It was the jam. And I wasn't bringing that same enthusiasm to what I was doing because I was scared. Right. I was showing up and going, oh, I need to prove myself. This is my first client. I've got to discount. I've got to take what I can. Everyone starts that way. No shade, no shame. I started there. We could rattle off my resume all day long, but I still started there. psychologically, emotionally, imposter syndrome, coming up against all the things. The turning point for me was recognizing and realizing that actually people were less interested in what I was selling and more interested in my story and my perspective on the problem.
Yes.
And so what I found was that shift from focusing on, I'm Luis, I build revenue systems, I provide revenue performance coaching. I'm Luis, individual contributor, closed over $500 million, started as a side hustler, had to find oxygen on these streets, doing my own thing. I know what it's like to burn out, trying to build my own business. I know what it's like to lose my first set of clients for not being prepared. I know what it's like to renew at a 6-figure level when I got it right. And I'm here to tell you all about that roller coaster. So when I get on calls with people, it's less of a focus on them and the revenue systems that they wanted to talk about. And it's more around, how did you overcome the mindsets for you when you had that cash in hand? How did it feel for you when you onboarded your first salesperson, right? That's the transformation they want for themselves. And that's the transformation they're witnessing when they see me building the business. And that's what they ultimately want to hear about. It's less about the deliverables, but tell me more. Tell me behind the scenes what's going on. So I thought, coming from the tech world, ad world, all the things where I'm used to values and outcomes and this and that, I'm ready to talk about my services in the same way. People want to talk to a human being about their very human experience while building a business.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think, especially with AI that's coming on, seeing soft skills are going to be even more important. You know, you said the human side of thing and the strength that we can do that an AI can't do, that can't be replaced. Seeing what your ROAS is, that can be replaced. The AI can do that, but it can't have a conversation with somebody. It can't do it very well. It gets confused. I've tried before trying to get it to be self-aware, and it just spits out garbage.
Yeah. I always say AI is not as intelligent as you think it is.
Yeah, it's just a good copier. I want to get into the scaling part, especially you advocate for high-end offers.
Yeah.
How does a leader's belief in their own worth directly impact the ability to package and price their expertise, even at premium levels?
When I work with a solopreneur or the founder of a tech company, I'm working with a leader who is grappling with self-worth and how that translates into what they're doing and what they can charge for, or any sort of limitation on what they should be charging for where they're at. And so let's take the case of an attorney or a consultant, solo practitioner, small firm, less than 10 people. They're charging by the hour. This is just how it's always done, right? The client wants this. We turn around 4 hours. We charge for the 4 hours, etc. How sustainable is that? We have to track all the hours. Tracking is annoying. What about creep? We told them 4, but it took us 6 because they didn't provide the thing that we needed. And then we had a system thing and then another thing. And then a more complicated issue came up, right? Okay. So all of a sudden, those 4 hours, the extra scope creep is actually undercutting that, plus the taxes, plus the payout. How much are you really netting per hour? We have to take them through that. This is clearly not working. Then we have to do an audit. How many years have you been in practice? How many people have you impacted? How much revenue have you driven? How many organizations have you served? How many thousands of people have been reached by what you say, do, produce, create? Let's qualify and quantify all of that, the entire breadth of what you've done as a founder from the moment you stepped into this lane, whether it was 15, 20 years ago or 5. Because we're not charging by the hour. You're just being short-sighted and reactive in the moment. If we look at the totality of what you're worth, then all of a sudden your $100 an hour for your service should have been $350, $500 if we're talking competitively for someone with your credentials, right? And now let's shift from the hourly outcomes to just charging by the outcome. Right. So that's where we take an attorney or a consultant from doing the billings to $50,000 all in, guaranteed outcome, no matter how many hours it takes to get this done for you in 90 days. That becomes more predictable to sell, scalable, gives you oxygen, helps you control on the back end using AI or automations or people to decrease operational cost and time and increase efficiency. You can fine tune all of that when you've got some parameters and you've got some oxygen, right? Now, when I talk to founders of a tech company, I've got this brilliant idea for software, service, SaaS, Okay, great. You're still undercharging and undermining your worth. You're undercharging for the potential of this software or this service or this technology that you're going to market with. And your limited thinking is also limiting the vision that you're communicating to the rest of the team. So they're also thinking small. They're also being short-sighted at pricing and all the ways that they're showing up for customers, right? So I've got to do that auditing and everything with that founder at that level. And truly, no matter the kind of business or size of the business, if I can't get the visionary to see the full worth and the full impact of what they could do for their end user or client or customer, then really the business won't thrive at its full potential.
That's super good. Approach promotes sophisticated revenue enablement.
Yeah.
Without the hustle, hype, or fluff. When there's, especially in Silicon Valley, this whole hustle revolution, working, 6-7 days a week, 15, 18-hour days.
Yeah.
How does this look, especially when it comes to revenue? Everybody thinks this is, and I know this is like a spiritual principle too. It's like, I have to work really hard, blood, sweat, and tears to make $1. There's abundance. Obviously, the universe has that. It's there for us. How do you look at that, especially when it comes to revenue enablement?
What I know to be true is if you're a smart person who uses the technologies well to your advantage ethically, then you shouldn't be working like to the bone, burning. If you're truly leveraging the automations and the tech and the AI in the right way, if you're truly empowering your team, your work week could be 10 hours and your revenues could still be 7 figures. Because here's the thing, that narrative of you've got to work hard and earn yours is a narrative that has been fed to me and my people to keep us down.
Yes, 100% right.
I don't subscribe to that narrative anymore. Now I work no more than 4 days a week. I work no more than 4 hours a day if I can help it. Why? Automations, AI, my VA, my sales reps, etc. I designed something really intelligently that doesn't need to exploit any human and doesn't need to work anyone to the bone in order to make an impact and have massive success on my terms. I don't aspire to be a billionaire per se.
Right.
I'm already successful according to my terms. I'm living my life the way I want to live it, spending my time the way that I want to spend it. I'm getting on a plane to Puerto Rico in 2 weeks. I'll be there for at least a month. You go away. I do residencies in places. I don't just travel for the weekend. I pull up for a month at a time. And that is intentional. That is what matters to me. That is because I broke free from that mindset of like, oh, I got to prove myself. I got to discount. I got to earn my first client this way or the other. To whose benefit? What narrative am I perpetuating?
Exactly. And a lot of people don't understand that time freedom is rich.
Yeah.
You're rich if you have that ability to do that.
Yeah. And let's, again, to contextualize rich, I don't have $100 million super yacht. That rich is to somebody else. To me is what you just described, time control. I am not stuck in a cubicle looking busy till 5 p.m. because I've got some outdated leadership style that keeps me trapped there.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it too is the titles, the egos, the wanting to be wanted, the needing to have the cortisol fix where I'm constantly behind and I have deadlines. We've all been there. We've all had our nervous system fucking
wrecked.
But as you get older, I'm 52, but as you get older, it's kind of like, I don't want that bullshit. Like you said, sitting on a beach in Puerto Rico is way nicer.
Yeah.
Than having to be in a cubicle for 6 days a week.
Yeah. And let me contextualize that, right? Like I earned this as well. Up one day and acted entitled. Well, I don't want to work. I'm not doing 9 to 5. I have been building my brand for almost a decade. I've been side hustling for years. Now I'm stepping up and doing the CEO founder thing full time, full force after years of figuring out what direction I wanted to move in. What I want to encourage folks is start building the skills now. Start finding the oxygen now. Someone cancels that meeting, keep it on the calendar. Go ahead and look busy. Spend that hour instead developing the skill. Teach yourself AI. Teach yourself sales. Teach yourself the things that you need so that you can always hunt and gather for yourself without depending on somebody else's W-2.
Last question, Luis. For a leader feeling stuck or a leader that may be playing small, what do you think is the single most powerful question they can ask themselves today to unlock their CEO energy?
If not now, then when? And if not you, then who? Because there's no perfect time. That's an illusion, right? Oh, I got to do this and get certified in that. No, there are people who are less qualified and less prepared and making way more advances than you. They've eclipsed you just because they got started. And the other thing is, if not you, then who? Like that imposter syndrome, shut it down. Shut it down, because there are people looking to do business and step into this work, and they're doing it with no backbone, no moral, no ethic, no concern for their customers, just stealing money. If you're going to do this right and do right by people. So if not now, then when? And if not you, then who?
That's amazing. Luis, what's your website again? I want everybody to, of course, we're going to have all this in the show notes so they can on LinkedIn or Instagram. But what is your website?
Bookedbusypaid.com.
Bookedbusypaid.com. Luis, thank you for your vulnerability, your wisdom, and really showing us that our greatest strengths, I think, often lie in the very things we think make us different. This has been incredible. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.